Here is the question I want you to hold for the entire episode. If the best performing stock in this portfolio is up 52.1% and barely moved the needle, what does that tell us about every decision made before it? I'll come back to that, and the answer is less comfortable than it sounds. Week ending August 15th, 2026. Portfolio value $106,618. That's up 6.62% from the $100,000 start, 10 weeks in. And after what happened in weeks 7, 8, and 9, getting back above six figures feels like it deserves a moment of acknowledgement before we move past it. Let's go back briefly. 2 episodes ago, this portfolio sat at $87,686. A drawdown of 12.3% from the starting line. Last episode, $98,769. Still below water. This week, $106,618. That's not a small recovery, and it happened fast, but it didn't happen by accident. It happened because of one trade. The first trade in 5 weeks. On August 15th, this account trimmed 300 shares of UMAC at $34.06. Those 300 shares were the exact tranche purchased on June 30th at $19.10. 6 weeks, 78.3% return on that tranche, $4,488 of realized profit. That is the trade of the series so far, and the reason it got made wasn't because the thesis changed. It's because UMAC ran 40.6% in a single week and had grown to 25.7% of the entire portfolio. There's a version of this story where that position keeps running and trimming looks like a mistake. There's another version where a single bad headline drops a 25% concentration by half and erases the recovery in an afternoon. The job here isn't to be right about what happens next. The job is to not let one position size decide the whole outcome. Cash went from $3, genuinely $3, to $10,921 after the trim plus a $700 deposit. The portfolio is now funded, has a cushion, and can actually act on something if the right opportunity shows up. That matters. UMAC itself, 500 shares remain at an average cost of $27.69. Current price, $34.06. That's still a 23% gain on the remaining position, and the thesis hasn't moved. UMAC is drone adjacent, holds a stake in the JFB Extend merger, and has a profile that's attracted the kind of political adjacency attention that tends to keep retail interest alive. The remaining position is sized more reasonably now. The 300 shares that got sold did their job. Now, the holding that is quietly becoming a problem, and not because it's losing money, JFB. 6,588 shares at a cost basis of $540. Current price $460. That's a 14.8% loss on paper, and it's the largest single position in the portfolio by share count. This week it moved up 4.5%, which is fine, but the position is sitting on a loss while being the anchor of the entire drone thesis. The JFB Extend merger S4 was filed June 17th. The expected close is somewhere in Q3 2026. XTND is set to trade on the NYSE. The catalyst is real, the timeline hasn't slipped publicly, but the stock is below the cost basis, and that requires honesty rather than cheerleading. Here is the midpoint reality check, because this is where attention tends to wander. This portfolio has recovered from a 12.3% drawdown, crossed back above the starting value, and is showing a 6.62% gain. That all sounds fine, but the drone complex, JFB, UMAC, AVAV, and RAP represented 64% of this portfolio before this week's trim. JFB and UMAC alone were 54.3% of the total, while being, effectively, the same catalyst expressed twice. UMAC holds a stake in the same JFB Extend merger that JFB itself is built around. That's not diversification, that's concentration with an extra step. The trim brought that down, but the concentration risk hasn't disappeared, it's shifted. The question for the next few weeks is whether the JFB catalyst delivers, stalls, or gets quietly pushed to Q4. Watch that one closely. AVAV had a strong week, up 12.7%, sitting at $192.81 against a cost of $185.92. That's a 3.7% gain overall on 50 shares. AeroVironment is the cleanest expression of military unmanned systems in this portfolio, with actual revenue, actual contracts, and a business model that doesn't depend on a merger closing. It's a small position relative to what it probably deserves. RAP had another rough week, down 3.6% to 188 against a cost basis of 246. That's a 23.6% loss. The RAP Shield technology, exclusive US and NATO rights to Fresnel Imaging's physics-based counter-drone sensing, is a genuine differentiator if the counter-UAS market develops the way the thesis suggests. The problem is the stock is doing what small, early-stage names do. It drifts, it chops, and it tests patience. The position was opened on July 11th using the first monthly contribution. That money is down roughly a quarter. No change in the plan, but no pretending it's working yet either. BRKB was the biggest loser this week, down 3.9% to 504.03. Against a cost of 488.13, it's still a 3.3% gain overall on 30 shares. Berkshire losing ground in a week where the rest of the portfolio is recovering is almost poetic. This is the capital preservation anchor, the thing that's supposed to absorb volatility. This week it added a little. Over 10 weeks, it's done its job quietly. That's the whole point of holding it. KO continued its steady grind, up 1% this week, now at 87.71 against a cost of 79.48. The 10.3% gain on Coca-Cola is about as surprising as Coca-Cola itself. It compounds. It pays. It doesn't do much else. 100 shares at a dividend yield that's been growing for over 60 consecutive years is the kind of boring that actually compounds. Realty Income, up 0.6% this week. 62.74 against a cost of 60.84. 215 shares. The monthly dividend keeps showing up. The gain is modest. The story hasn't changed and doesn't need to. Now, that question from the opening, SentinelOne, ticker S, is up 52.1% in this portfolio. This week alone, it gained 11.3%. It is, by percentage, the single best performer in this account, and it represents 0.5% of the portfolio, 25 shares at a cost of $15.19. At $23.11 today, that's a $198 gain in dollar terms. $198 on the best performing position in the book. That is the position sizing lesson, and it's worth sitting with. A 52% winner that contributes almost nothing to portfolio performance isn't a win. It's a demonstration of what happens when conviction and capital don't match. SentinelOne was purchased as an asymmetric bet against SPCX. The thesis was right, the size was wrong. The drone names got the conviction money, and they got it early and heavy. SentinelOne got a small exploratory stake and has since outperformed everything. This doesn't mean the drone thesis is wrong. It means that when you're making a portfolio rather than a single bet, the question isn't only, am I right about this idea? It's, how much of my portfolio should know that I think I'm right? Those are different questions, and they don't always get answered together at the time of purchase. Watching closely next week, JFB, where the merger timeline is the only thing that matters. UMAC, now at a more manageable weight but still tied to the same catalyst. RAP, which needs to show some stabilization if the counter-drone thesis is going to hold. And AVAV, which had the kind of week that quietly suggests the market is starting to price military drone demand more seriously. The cash position, $10,921, is the wild card. That's the most capital this account has had available since before the concentration got built. Whether something new gets added or existing positions get adjusted is an open question. No decisions announced here until they're made. If you want to run the same experiment on your end, open a paper trading account, mirror the positions, and track what changes. The decisions here aren't recommendations, they're a record. Dumb money, smart moves. The 100K experiment continues.